Okay, we're going to work with baby back ribs, and we're going to do them inside the house instead of normally on the grill where you smoke them. There's not always enough time for that, especially for people who are working or mothers and they want to use their Instant Pot. So this is how we're going to do this. We're going to take the baby back ribs and you take them out of the packaging. So you've got something like this. And on the back of ribs is a membrane. If you can see that. It's kind of hard to pick up with your fingernails, but keep digging on the edges and you'll get it. You get a firm grip on that membrane and you remove it. This is important for when you're cooking the ribs and you're getting ready to eat them. This makes it easier to eat, makes them easier to cut. You definitely want to take that membrane off the back. So then you start with your brown sugar. You can have dark brown sugar, you can have light brown sugar, or you can omit it altogether. If you don't like the sweet taste on ribs, then omit it. But I like a little brown sugar on the ribs, especially because we mix it with a little bit of pineapple juice in the broth, and it has a nice Hawaiian kind of taste. I choose to use rib rub. You can mix your own rub if you like. This is just easier and faster, and like I said, my goal with all of these videos is to show you how you can cook quickly. You can cook after work, you can cook on the weekends, or do a lot of food prep at one time on the weekends and put things in the freezer, the refrigerator, and take them with you to work. Say you are a plant operator. You're going to work shift work. You're not always going to want to come home and make dinner and things like that, but if you do this on the weekends and you prep, you can take those things with you to work at, packed lunch, that kind of thing. So, be sure and season both sides. And it is a little messy, you got to get your hands dirty. And I like it kind of spicy, so I'm going to season them one more time. Okay, now when you're working with an Instant Pot, there's kind of a learning curve, myself included. When I bought one, I almost gave it away because it's a little bit tough to figure out. It's not like a crock pot, which we were all used to using. This is a little bit more complicated, but after you learn it, it's so simple that you'll use it all the time. And for those who are making a big amount of food for a lot of people, you can turn this on, you can leave, you can go mow your grass, you can come in. The Instant Pot will turn itself off and it'll set itself to a keep warm setting that will last hours. And you can just come in and eat at any time. There's also a program on the Instant Pot for a Wi-Fi connection. So when you're leaving work, you can use your phone and you can start your Instant Pot, and then when you get home from work, food's ready. So here's the first thing. I have an 8-quart Instant Pot, so one of the larger ones. You got a stainless steel tub here. You have a meat rack. Put your meat rack in. My Instant Pot's big enough for 2 sets of ribs. Yours may not be, and that's okay. What you want to do is you want to round the ribs like a crown and set them on top of the rack. You're going to do the same thing and lay it on the inside of your other ribs so that they open. When they open kind of like a donut. Now, I like to keep all of this as much on the meat as possible. So I'm going to add that to the pot. Like I said, it's messy, but they're really good, so bear with me. Now, for this Instant Pot recipe, you can do 2 things. You can just add water, a cup of water to the bottom of the pot, or you can add a cup of your chicken broth. You can mix your chicken broth with something else. I do a half a cup of chicken broth and about a 1/4 of a cup of pineapple juice, and that's just going to be the steam that's within it. You can buy liquid smoke at the grocery store. I don't really use it, but you can buy it, keep it in the refrigerator, add just like a 1/4 of a teaspoon, 1/8 of a teaspoon of liquid smoke. It goes a long way, don't use too much. Add it to any pulled pork or ribs or anything that you're cooking that you want a smoky flavor, add that to your broth. But today we're going to skip it. As you can see here, this way the ribs look inside the pot, all curled up. Set them inside the Instapot lid. Hold on, you twist, you'll hear the sound. We'll let you know it's locked. You're going to take the valve, you're going to turn it to the back because you're going to want to pressure cook. You don't want to release the steam. You want to hold the steam because the steam is what's going to cook your meats, right? In the back of an Instapot, you have a water reservoir. Keep that water reservoir filled with water and clean it each time you use it. More than likely when you're through using it, you'll have the same amount of water because the steam will have left the Instapot and went back into the reservoir. Clean it anyway because sometimes food does boil up into it and it can get dirty, so be sure to do that. We're going to set our Instapot to, well, where did it go? Pressure cook. We want to cook 2 sets of ribs at 35 minutes. You're doing 1 set of ribs, try them at 25, okay? So when you do that, you just hit the negative to get the time you want, and you're done. That's it. Now my first problem with the Instapot was I did not know it was on because it looks like this for a while. It will take a few minutes before the pressure starts to build up and it actually starts to cook. So when it said on, I kept redoing it and redoing it and redoing it, and that's wrong. Okay, so once it starts on, be patient. Go do something else. You'll come back, you'll see the timer. When it's ready, start to count down. We're going to let this cook for 35 minutes and we're going to let it naturally release. That means that we're not going to open the valve. We're going to leave the valve shut and we're going to let the pressure go down all by itself. That's going to help those ribs to cook as well. In the back of your Instapot, there's a little red button, and when it's poking up and you can see the little spring, you know that there's still pressure in the pot. Do not try to open it at this time. For one, it won't let you open it, and for two, you need to be careful around pressure cookers anyway because they can be dangerous. So wait till that little red button is all the way back down into its slot. That lets you know that it's okay to open the top of your Instapot. Okay, we just finished cooking our Instapot ribs. This is what they look like. When you remove your stainless steel pot out of the Instapot, it's really hot, so be sure and have some pot holders. When you remove the ribs, try to pick them up with the rack underneath and get them over to your cookie sheet as easily as possible. You can then flip them out. They may break apart and that's okay. Just piece them back together because it's not going to matter. You want your oven preheated at broil, 500 degrees, okay? Because what we're going to do, since we didn't smoke these on the grill, we didn't cook them outside on a normal barbecue pit, we still want that sauce to be gooey and sticky and cooked on top of your ribs. So whatever sauce you like, I actually mix 2 different kinds, a spicy and a sweet together. I prefer that. And lay on your sauce pretty thick because when it starts to broil, it's going to thicken up kind of tacky like glue, and it's going to bubble a lot, and that's going to keep a good coating on your ribs after you get ready to serve them. You'll still have a nice coating of sauce on top. I have some cousins in Alabama, Ronnie Lewis and Kim Lewis, who are always cooking on their grill or on their smoker, and it always looks so great and their ribs are beautiful. But some of us don't have that privilege of cooking that way, and we have to make do with what we have. And in a pinch, the Instapot really does make cooking ribs easy. A lot of times you can get these on sale for $1.99 a pound, and you can put them in your freezer. This makes a really fast and cheap dinner for when you get home from work or on the weekends. Like I said, on meal prep, these work out really well. They warm up really well, and you can serve them for July 4th or Memorial Day or anything like that. Say you live in an apartment and it's not as convenient for you to barbecue. This works out well. So now we're going to move to the oven. Okay, Okay, we just added those to the oven. You want to put them on the uppermost rack because you're going to have the broiler broiling down on top of the sauce in itself, because your ribs are already cooked. You don't want to overcook them, but you do want that heat to hit the top of the sauce. It usually lasts around 5 to 8 minutes. Stay with it. Don't leave it because it can catch on fire. So we'll be back in 5 minutes. Okay, just a quick tip for your Instapot. When you open it, a lot of times there'll be a lot of water on top of the lid that will drain and drip everywhere. A lot of people don't know this, and I didn't know this until about a year after I had it, that you just set your lid in there like that. Water drains down, empties back out into your reservoir. So that's a tip that most people don't know about. It's time to take our ribs out. Be careful when you open the oven, the fumes will really burn your mascara. Turn your oven off so that you don't forget and leave it on broil. That wouldn't be a good thing. This is what your ribs look like now that you're finished. They're hot, they're bubbly. When they're inside the oven, you'll see little bubbles popping on top. That's a good indication that they're done. And when you let it set in the air, it's going to thicken up on top of the ribs. So now you have ribs, macaroni and cheese, and green beans. And as with the other episodes ahead of this one, you had peach cobbler and homemade cornbread. So you should have a complete meal for Memorial Day. Thank you for watching.